After Saturday's scrimmage, you may have been like me and wondered what were players thinking about what took place Saturday afternoon. Well, some Ohio State tight ends spoke highly about the Buckeye defense and what they witnessed over the weekend. What did they say about this unit? We'll discuss that today on Locked on Buckeyes.
You are Locked on Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked on Buckeyes for the Locked on Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Tuesday, August 16th in the year 2022, and I'd like to thank you for making Locked on Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we will discuss where the Buckeyes fall in the preseason AP poll. We'll also discuss a little something we might want to be concerned about that came out of Saturday's scrimmage. But before we get to any of that, the Ohio State tight end spoke to the media just a day ago. And as all tight ends spoke to the media, they all spoke highly about the Buckeye defense and what they did over the weekend. The defense is the talk of the town. It will be the talk of the town going into week one, during the game of week one, and in the beginning of the season. All eyeballs are looking to see what this defense does in 2022. And as G. Scott Jr., Mitch Rossi, and the other scholarship tight ends spoke to the media, they all spoke highly about what the defense did over the weekend. G. Scott Jr. said the defense looks really good. Mitch Rossi said this defense is presenting good challenges. But then there's Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And as Kevin Wilson has been around for a very, very, very long time, has been around some really good teams, has coached in numerous national championship games. I value his opinion very highly. And I think that when he speaks about this defense and says the same things that the players are saying, I love those things coming from him. Here are some things that Kevin Wilson said about the Buckeye defense and what they witnessed over the weekend. Quote, defense created several good turnovers, which is good for them, not good for us. Got to run it better. Wasn't our best running day. Need to run it a little bit better as we go, end quote. He goes on to discuss more about what the Buckeyes defense did over the weekend, what he's seen from them, and even says certain players and talked about how they have been so far. Quote, they're deep. Speaking of the defense, and they just keep coming at you in waves, and they just keep coming over the walls. You just feel the defensive presence. I think linebackers Tommy Eichenberg and Steele and Cody are starting to play with a lot of confidence. I think the secondary guys are starting to understand those fits, and they're so much more quicker in the hole. And I think you feel a very early, confident defensive bunch. Long way to go. I'm sure a coach would tell you that, but man, out there, it's dadgum fist fight, end quote. Had to make sure that was not something that would not be eligible to be said right here on this year podcast. That coach he speaks of at the very end was Coach Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is what you want to hear from coaches, players, everybody involved that's going up against the Buckeye defense right now. You want to hear good things. You want to hear they're doing well. You want to hear they are excelling. You want to hear they're picking up what Jim Knowles is putting down. These are the things you want to hear. But if G. Scott Jr. says the defense is really good or looks really good, I value that. When Mitch Rossi, who played a lot last year, said the defense is presenting some really good challenges, I want that. I like hearing that. But when you see Kevin Wilson say, quote, you feel the defensive presence, end quote. And then goes on to highlight the linebackers and secondary and discuss what they have done so far. The linebackers is a unit, that's a position group that everybody wants to play better because last year it was not up to par. It was not up to the standard that has been set at the Ohio State University. Think about the secondary. A lot of experience back there Caleb McAllister is now at Ohio State, the newcomer, but he's really talented in his own right. And so you hear good things from the secondary, good things from the linebackers. And discussing the turnovers, I mean, my goodness, like, you want these things. They even saw there was going around on the Twitter a video from Joey Galloway's Instagram story, and it was a play. It was a run play, run left, I believe. Defense is right, and I believe the guard, I couldn't tell if it was Matt Jones. I think it was Donovan Jackson was a left guard at this time. I truly don't know who it was. I think if it was the ones, it was one versus ones, or if it was that way, I would say it was Donovan Jackson. But the guard was supposed to pick up the linebacker. Let's go to the second level, immediately get the LB. Well, the linebacker went over top of said block. The block was not made. Linebacker flew to the ball, and bam. I mean, left shoulder to the running back, flattened him, and you saw up the sideline, Lathan Ransom ran to the ball to celebrate with this teammate. Linebackers flying around, that's not a foreign concept around Ohio State. That's expected. And hearing these things about from the players, from the coaches, I love it. And this is what we expect to hear. The play I just described, that's what we expect to see from the defense. Now, hearing so many great things about the defense might say, Jay, what's up with the offense? What's up with the O-line? What's up with the running game? Like, what's up with everything? Well, sometimes the defense gets things going a little bit quicker than the offense, or vice versa. The offense gets things quicker, a little bit faster than the defense. Just like the cookie crumbles, that's how things are. And I personally have no problem with what I have heard about the defense so far. You want to hear these things. I like hearing these things. I hope we hear more of these things going forward throughout fall camp, and especially as the hype builds for the week 1 matchup against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Coming up next, the Buckeyes are in, of course, the preseason AP poll. Where did they fall? Who is around them? Where is Notre Dame? We'll discuss all that right here next on Locked on Buckeyes. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Remember to subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube or on your favorite podcast listening app, or the Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your fine podcast. Make sure you subscribe, because there will be times there will be multiple episodes coming out in a week. We're trying to get an early look at the Notre Dame Fighting Irish right here on the podcast. Working on having a really big guest to talk about the 0-2 national championship win that Ohio State had over the Hurricanes to win that natty in that season. A lot of good things coming. Might even get a professional athlete on the podcast as well. You never know what's to come, so make sure you find a way. You know how to. Subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes so you don't miss a thing. The preseason AP poll recently came out, and where the Buckeyes fall or where they fell might not be a surprise to you when you hear where they are, but it might be a surprise to hear where Notre Dame falls right now, as they are under a new head coach, Marcus Freeman, and this just literally raises the stakes of the first game between the Buckeyes and the Fighting Irish. The preseason AP poll, the Buckeyes come in as the number 2 team in this poll, just like they did in the coaches poll, 10 through 1. I want to read those off very quickly. But number 5 is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Imagine how big it'll be if the Buckeyes can get a top 5 win under their belt to start the season. Talk about building your resume the right way to start the season. This is a way to do that. 10 through 1 in the preseason AP poll go like this. Baylor is number 10. Oklahoma number 9 with new coach Brent Venables. Former coach at Oklahoma is now the head coach, the head man in Norman. Number 8, the team up north, Number 7, the Utah Utes. Number 6, Jimbo Fisher's Texas A&M Aggies. Number 5, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Number 4, Clemson. 3, Georgia. 2, Ohio State. 1, Alabama. There were 4 Big Ten teams that were in the preseason AP poll. They go like this. I just mentioned Ohio State is number 2. Yet you have Michigan is number 8. Going down the list. Michigan State is number 15. And then Wisconsin comes in at number 18. There were 5 Big Ten teams that received votes in this poll. Iowa, Penn State, Minnesota, Purdue, and Nebraska are all in that list of receiving votes. Nebraska got 1 vote to be in the AP top 25. That shocks me. It shouldn't shock me. But there's always going to be one person to be that person to say, hey, Nebraska, Cornhuskers, they deserve to be in the top 25. Like I said previously, maybe not here, but I've said it other places, Scott Frost has not proven to me anything to show me that I should believe in his team this year. So why does somebody else believe in that team this year when Scott Frost has showed us, got a lot of hype coming back to Nebraska, has not done anything since he has been back as the head coach there for the Cornhuskers. No surprise here, really. And I'm going to tell everybody this. I say this all the time. I say things about the preseason in the NFL, in the NBA. This is a preseason AP poll. Ain't no games been played yet. So if you're trying to build storylines and things about this to describe how the season is going to go, I would say pump the brakes. Don't do that. You're better than that. This is a preseason AP poll. And this is just people doing their research and talking to people to figure out where teams should go. This is all media, the Associated Press. This is all media voting in this one. This is the one that's very heavily weighted. I know that you might get the first CFP poll that mirrors the AP poll. Why? Because sometimes the people in the media watch more games than those that are in the room deciding who should be in the CFP poll, the college football playoff poll. That's just the way things go. But don't be a person that says, oh, okay, great, Ohio State's number 2. Right now, they're going to be in the playoff. Well, I think they'll be in the playoff, but I don't base my opinion on who's going to be in the playoff based on this. The one thing that kind of opens my eyes a little bit, Clemson number 4. Now, I've heard DJU has lost weight. I've heard DJ Uiagalelei looks better. I think he lost like 20 pounds. I think it's down to 240 from 260. So he's looking a little lighter on the feet, a little more mobile. But I thought last year people in the media were saying Clemson was out of it. I thought those in the media were saying Clemson is not that team anymore. I thought those in the media were the ones saying, hey, Clemson's good, but their run is over. Well, apparently they don't think the run is over. If all of a sudden in the first AP poll that the media is putting Clemson right here in this spot, I don't mind where Clemson goes. I mean, now granted, I say I don't mind where Ohio State falls. If Ohio State was outside of the AP poll in the preseason, I might say y'all lost your minds. But then I also have to remember this dictates nothing that happens on the field. Nothing. The AP poll was great when it first came out. It was the first rankings. It was a good talking point. It was great for the rankings. And honestly, it was how the national champion was decided in college football, starting in 1936, even sometimes after the BCS national champion, BCS national championship kind of took that over. But you think from 36 to the 97 season, the AP poll was one of the polls that decided the national champion, and even at times decided said national champion prior to the bowl games being played. This poll means something to a lot of people, and they will create storylines because of that. Good for you. It's cool. But I hope Ryan Day, I hope Jim Knowles, I hope Kevin Wilson, I hope Brian Hartline, I hope they don't use this as, oh, great, like, this is where we fall. Let's read into these things. Let's not do that. We're smarter than that. You are smarter than that, too. AP poll is great. I kind of like it at times. I kind of don't. But the Buckeyes could look at this and say one thing and have one grand takeaway from this poll. We're number 2. This is how they view us. Let's prove to them we deserve this preseason ranking. And also let's prove to them that we deserve to be number 1. Those are the things you can take away from this. Use it as bulletin board material to get better and to play the best football you have ever played at the Ohio State University. Say the best football you ever played. It might be that Zach Harrison doesn't start this year. It might be that Zach Harrison does not start because JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer are just too good. I think they are. But he can simply look at this and say, well, even though I might not be having the same role that I had the previous years at Ohio State, I can play my best brand of football and say, oh, we number 2 behind Alabama. Do they know the talent we have up here in Columbus versus what they have in Tuscaloosa? Do they know what Ryan Day is brewing up here, what he's been cooking up in his lab? Do they know what Ryan Day has been doing? The good chance is that they don't. So here we go. Ryan Day, Corey Dennis, the QB coach, getting CJ Stroud ready for the season. Tony Alford, the running backs. And Zach Harrison can be a leader off the field and play his best brand of football on the field and use this as motivation while doing just that. That's the grand takeaway, y'all. To me, make sure you're playing your best brand of football. If you need any type of motivation, look at the preseason AP poll and say, we're number 2. We should be number 1, and let's show the world, not just Notre Dame, let's show the world that we deserve to be higher in this poll than we should be. Players can use this as motivation all the time, and I gladly think they should go ahead and do that. I have no problem with it. When I played, I tried to find different ways to motivate myself. Maybe I had a grudge against somebody on the opposite side, or the coach said something crazy in the week leading up to the game. These are things we do as humans. These are things athletes do. And you can use this ranking right now along with the coaches poll and say, y'all put us at number 2. Let us show y'all why we should be number 1 in the land. Coming on the heels of Saturday scrimmage, Kevin Wilson, the OC at Ohio State, the offensive coordinator, had some interesting comments about Ohio State's running game and what needs to happen with it. Maybe some things that need to change. What did he say? We'll discuss that and a whole lot more next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. Make sure you guys are looking out for this podcast. I mentioned it earlier. I want to mention it once again. Just popped into my head. We're trying to have a Notre Dame preview right here on the podcast for you so you can learn more about Notre Dame. And also, at the same time, we have a goal we want to meet. 2,000 subscriptions on YouTube prior to the start of the college football season. So be on the lookout for 2 things. One thing is action from you. Subscribe to the YouTube page. But then number 2, be on the lookout for a preview of the Notre Dame game. Tell your friends, to your family, maybe even tell that foe, that person you can't stand, but you know they're a Buckeye fan. Let them know Locked on Buckeyes is the place to be to get ready for the upcoming season. So Kevin Wilson, also while discussing some things that happened over the weekend with the Buckeyes, he stated his non-satisfaction with the running game over the weekend. That's the easiest way I can describe it. He is not satisfied with what he saw from the Buckeyes over the weekend in regards to the run game. I have my own thoughts about why I think I was not there. No media member was there. But I have my own thoughts about why I think the running game was not up to par, up to the standard, regardless of what the defense did over the weekend. But let's read. As I read, and you listen to what Kevin Wilson had to say about this unit and some things that were not really, that he was not satisfied with over the weekend. I'm trying to find the right quote here in my notes so I don't say the wrong thing. Here we go. Quote, not what it needs to be. Not what it needs to be based on what I saw Saturday, because it needed to be better Saturday. And in structure, what we're calling scheming, and that pad level, and execution, and demeanor, and attitude. That was a couple glitches Saturday that needed to be, end quote, needed to be cleaned up. Now he goes on to discuss some more things about this running game. Says play calling can be better, execution can be better, the demeanor of what we're trying to get accomplished here, 4-minute offense. He goes into a little bit more detail, but I want to read a different quote, another quote from him. And this is just not about the running game. This is also about the goals that the team has, during the season. Three goals at Ohio State you want to hit every year. Beat the team up north, win the Big Ten championship, win the national championship. I heard it over and over. Ryan Day stated it. I believe Ronnie Hickman stated it. All the players know the goals at Ohio State. Beat the team up north, win the Big Ten championship, and win the national championship. And with the third of those goals in mind, winning the national championship, Kevin Wilson, who I have said has been around for a while, knows what it takes to get there. And he had this to say. I'm trying to find the right quote once again. He basically said that, if I cannot find it. Here it is. The proper quote about that Kevin Wilson stated in regards to what it takes and kind of that mindset about winning championships and what it takes. Quote, play call can be better, execution can be better, but also the demeanor of what we're trying to get accomplished here, 4-minute offense. To win those championships, we're going to have to close out some games, and everybody knows we're running it. I know coach will have a safe pass or something to keep them honest, but we got to run it and get the first down, and that's what those great offenses that we talked about earlier are going to do or not do. That's when we'll see if we're a good offense or not, end quote. That coach he talked about was Ryan Day. But Kevin Wilson knows the great teams have good running games. You can't just rely on somebody to throw the ball, to pass the ball down the field to win a national championship. Imagine an offense that was one-dimensional. Pass happy, pass all day, but had no running game, couldn't do those things. Would those teams be the ones that would win the national championship? Probably not. Think about everybody marvels LSU when they won it with Joe Burrow. But y'all also, like, as good as the receivers were at LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a big part of that offense. It wasn't just on the arm of Joey B. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back at LSU, was a big part of that. And if you go back through the history, many of you will not like this reminder, but in 2020, when Alabama beat Ohio State in the Natty, who was a big piece of that? Who I think was a bigger piece of the pie than people might give him credit for was running back Najee Harris. I believe he's now playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Devonta Smith won the Heisman. Jalen Waddle was amazing. Mac Jones was a really good quarterback. But Najee Harris was a big part of that. The national championship winning teams have a better, more well-rounded offense than you might think. And the Buckeyes know if they want to win the Natty in 2022, their running game has to get better. The positive about all this, if there is one about the running game struggling right now, this is the middle of August. First game, September 3rd. They have time to work on it. Now, also, one thing that I think, he mentioned the pad level, he mentioned the execution. You have two new guys playing guard. And I think it's going to take some time for those guys to be there. You also have a new guy playing left tackle. So left tackle new, left guard new, right guard new. It's going to take those guys time to get used to that side of the ball and that position. It's just the nature of the beast. And so I'm not really overly concerned about the running game right now because I do believe it will get better. I do believe that over time, the run game will be what we want it to be in 2022. So I'm not really overly concerned about it, but I am concerned because you would think it'd be better right now. But remember, it's been a long time since spring practice. We're in the middle of fall camp. Things will get better. Donovan Jackson will block better. The pad level will get better. The execution will get better. Things will get better. So we can expect a better run game from the Buckeyes week 1 and beyond during this season. We're out of here, guys. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. Out of here on this Tuesday. Hope you guys have a great day. Come back tomorrow. This is the place to be to stay up to date with your Ohio State Buckeyes.